beloved honeymoon phase. When you first start dating somebody, everything is perfect. Then womp, 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 it fades away. Yeah, well, never fear. Our next guest has the tips to make that feeling last just a little bit longer. Welcome romantic psychology expert and best-selling author, Rachel Van Dyken. I gotta know, as a romantic psychology expert, do you win every argument you have with significant others?
You have to.
No, you know what? What's funny is my husband's here, so naturally.
Oh yeah, we have to be careful.
Yes or no? He goes like this. He's like, I don't know. I have a feeling that you would, just because. What do you do as a romantic psychology expert? There he is. Say hi. Hey.
You know, we don't. I mean, if we do have an argument, it's not really an argument. It's more of a discussion. And he has so much wisdom, and I think where I feel I do really well, he lacks, and vice versa. You know, I think that's what a good relationship has those push and pull. But I will say that I know personally, for me, I tend to be a little bit controlling, and I think it probably is because of all the romance I write and all the things that I do and all the research. You know, I think, oh well, I know because I've been studying this, but I don't think that's really true. I think every situation is different.
Well, because you can create a story in your head very easily, especially as a romance novelist, like writing this stuff, like, woo, I'm gonna do this.
Well, it's not
reality.
You know, I always think of that movie Couples Retreat when they're first getting off the plane and the relationship seems so perfect on the surface. Do you feel, is the honeymoon phase real, first of all, and do all couples go through that honeymoon phase?
I think every couple goes through it, and I think it's a very real thing. You have those butterflies still, you have that excitement, you have the honeymoon. I think a lot of times too, especially in this society, you have a plan. So you're like, okay, well, I have a career, and now I'm gonna get married, and now we're gonna do our honeymoon, now we're gonna do this. And as women, we really tend to prioritize our list that way. And so once that list ends, that's a lot of times when that, what happens next, that panic happens, and that's when the honeymoon phase starts to
well, okay, so Tara and I are both single, and I can remember when we are single. I can remember when I was in a honeymoon phase. So I know you have ways for us to kind of snap out of that honeymoon phase. What are they?
One of my favorite ways, just because The Bachelor is playing right now, I don't know if you guys watch the show The Bachelor.
Maybe. I will not admit. I will not confirm or deny that.
I plead the fifth.
You don't have to admit. It's okay. I don't either. But one of the things that I think is really cool for a honeymoon is, or to like reintroduce that kind of back into your relationship, is on The Bachelor, what they do is they always do one of those dates where they go bungee jumping or cliff jumping, something crazy. And it creates this false sense of attachment with the other person that you're with, because what happens is your body releases that dopamine. And so then your body immediately responds to whatever's in your environment and goes, oh, that's why. It's
because you instantly bond.
It's because of this person. And so you have this fake bond with someone. Well, the cool thing is that works when you're in a marriage or when you're in a relationship. You already have that friendship established. So if you do something more exciting, like run a marathon together or do something new and exciting, it recreates those butterfly effects and that dopamine, and you have a new attachment to that person.
I like it a lot.
I like that you say to step outside of yourself. And then the next one I feel like is kind of controversial. Schedule sex. So you want that spontaneity in a relationship, but sometimes you got to put it down on the schedule. Why does this work for couples?
It works for couples because a lot of times we get so busy with our kids. I mean, we don't even take times for ourselves this day and age. You know, you're thinking about putting dinner on the table, you're thinking about taking your kid to soccer. I mean, thinking about even when you come home, you're with your significant other, but you're not really with them. You know, my husband and I talk about that a lot, how we're almost like some nights like roommates because we're both working on business because we work from home. And so you really need to plan a lot of those things. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I think too, the way with technology, we have like our cell phones, you can do apps for actually planning sex, which is kind of cool. And you can, it'll like give you like a little, it'll give you like a little ding and you're like, ooh. And so I just think it's kind of
So do you drop everything when the ding happens? Like,
I haven't actually done it before. I've never scheduled. I've never scheduled, but I think it's something that, especially if you have a really busy life, I think it's something
I've heard it does really work for people.
You also say to use I feel statements instead of blaming the other person, and to be romantic. So those are the good tips. What about relationship red flags though? What should we be aware of, and what do we do if we see them?
The number one thing I tell people to look for is if you don't like that person's friends, you need to be very careful because a lot of times you are who you hang out with, and
influence,
exactly, and so you're going to put your best foot forward. So if you're dating a guy and you don't like any of his friends, that's not a good sign. And another one that's really easy, especially with social media and with doing online dating, is if the person that you're with doesn't treat the waitress or their waiter very nicely.
That's a good one. I've heard that one before. I haven't heard the friend thing though. I love that.
My husband tested me, which I didn't even know this existed when we were dating. We were going to his car, so he unlocked my door, and then he walked around to see if I would reach over and unlock his. Because apparently that means you care about. It's from some movie. I failed. Not many people don't have electric locks. He had like an '87 Chevy Celebrity, so I'm not used to having to reach over, and I failed. But I still married him, so what does that say? You know?
He still married you, even though you didn't do it.
Hey, a lot of people say, you know, they're on this mission to find the one. Does the one exist? And if so, how do we find
Please,
it?
we need to know.
Inquiring minds want to know this one.
You know, the perfect one for you does exist, but I think you need to also I don't say lower your standards, but you need to make sure that the person that you're with, you're not putting them up on this pedestal, because everyone has things that they're not good at. You know, everyone has weaknesses, and I think the most important thing to do is to find your best other half and find the top 3 most important things that you feel like are necessity in your relationship, and look for those, and the rest of the stuff is stuff you can work on.
Like you say, the one for you.
Right, well, and that's the thing is, you know, if he chews ice, for example, you know, and you're like, oh my God, this is grinding at me, you just say, like, don't chew your ice anymore, and you can work on that. Like, it's the little things that, you know, can grind at you, but you can get past some of those things.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I love this stuff. Super exciting. Thank you so much, Rachel. By the way, her latest books, Toxic and Fearless, will be available in March. So make sure you guys pick those up.
Great covers.
Funky cover photos.